How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading with the prices going up or down. Over on the Dixie for the daily, we did try to push forward, but we got rejected by our green and our red EMAs. So this could be positive for crypto, as remember, they are inversely related, meaning when Dixie goes down, crypto typically goes up. RSI, our relative strength index, this red line is pulling back due to our stochastic, our double line, pulling back as well and favoring below the 30 area, which is their neutral area. Over on the indicators, we have market cipher B, which is what we're covering right now, and market cipher A. These are both free within TradingView, so you can get all of this absolutely free. Just like and subscribe. So our VWAP does have higher lows here. That is this yellow wave. As this yellow wave pushes forward, that can help us cross that neutral area of 0 for this VWAP. Once we cross the neutral area of 0, we can become more bullish, making our momentum push forward. So if our VWAP can become more bullish, momentum, that blue wave, can push forward as well. If yours isn't blue, visit our Mastering the Trade series and visit the RSI and Stochastic video where we show you how to set this up. But as that VWAP pushes higher, momentum will push higher. And then our third part is this money flow, which has this green or red wave, depending on if we're bullish or bearish, meaning bullish we can increase or bearish we will decrease. So if we're more bullish and that money flow becomes more in a bullish trend, that helps push price action forward. If our VWAP can cross this neutral, momentum could gain strength and that money flow could push forward, possibly flipping the trend, but we are possibly rejecting that. Over on the 4-hour here, we do have a bearish engulfing candle where the red candle is bigger or as big as the green candle before it, pushing us down. Our stochastic is weakening as well. Our RSI is pushing forward. VWAP is in the bearish territory after favoring the bullish territory, so that was positive. That did bring momentum forward. But as this VWAP breaks back into the bearish territory, momentum has the red dot and the money flow could pull back. That could result in a rejection of this EMA if we are not careful, so I would watch very closely on these lower time frames. Over on the 2-hour, we are starting to consolidate. So if we continue to consolidate after a drop down, that creates a pattern that we covered in the Mastering the Trade called the bear flag that can drop you lower. So visit that if you want to learn how to draw it real quick. Stochastic's pulling back, RSI's pulling back, VWAP's in the bearish territory, and our money flow is bearish as well. You draw it basically by making this consolidation range. You take your breakout point, drop it down to your consolidation range, and that possibly push us right around this previous consolidation back here, which is the most likely scenario of where we would drop to. Over on the 1-hour, we are trying to push above our green EMA. If we can sustain above it without rejecting, we may see another run forward. Just watch for a rejection of the blue or yellow EMAs. If we reject those EMAs, we could end up gaining a lower high and then continuing lower. Again, that would be positive for crypto as they are inversely related. Stochastic is below that 30 area, slightly favoring the bearish territory. Our RSI does want to pull back. VWAP is trying to push forward. We do have a strong low here, and that momentum is favoring the bearish territory. If that VWAP rejects this neutral or makes a lower high and then pulls back for consistent lows, momentum will remain bearish and that money flow could reject. That would in turn push the higher time frames lower. Remember, these lower time frames do lead the higher time frames, but on the day 1-hour here, we could have a rising triangle too, so I would exercise caution. This rising triangle could try to push us forward. It's not a very big triangle, but it could try to break that yellow EMA. If we can break and hold above that yellow EMA, we could create a bullish trend that would cause crypto to pull back. Over on the total for the daily, we are trying to break the 674, much like we have been telling you that we could since we did this pullback here. But if we cannot sustain above this area, we could end up rejecting, giving us our third high for this bear flag and making us push lower still. So exercise a bit of caution here. Stochastic does want to run up. RSI is gaining strength. Our VWAP, that yellow wave, is pushing forward, and our momentum is in the bullish territory, is hidden behind that VWAP. Our money flow is also bouncing off of that neutral. So if our VWAP can sustain a bullish trend, we currently have higher lows with consistent highs. So that's giving us a bit of a bullish trend. If we can continue that bullish trend, that could help push us further higher. Over on this 4-hour, we do have a green dot on this hammer candle, but with it being a red hammer candle, that could end up dropping us down, just like this red candle did here. I would watch for a pullback toward this EMA and it bounce off of it, as we really didn't do so after we broke down and tried to break above it. Our stochastic does have bearish divergence. RSI is starting to pull back. That VWAP has lower highs, but it also has higher lows, so it's a little indecisive. Momentum does want to round away, so if that VWAP does break that neutral, money flow could then start to pull back, and that would start to weaken the daily as well. Over on this 2-hour, we could have a bit of a rising triangle, maybe a rising wedge, kind of hard to draw out either. So if we drew a rising channel, let's see, draw this high a little lower, cut this right around here, that might be a little bit of a wedge. So a little bit of a rising wedge, I would exercise caution. Remember, that is a bearish pattern, but that could give us a break forward and then a retest of our 674 in the best case scenario. Our momentum does want to round away. We do have bearish divergence, stochastic's pulling back. Our VWAP did break for a bullish trend, but now it's breaking down, so I would watch very closely. If our VWAP does make a higher low here, we could continue to favor bullish. That would give our momentum further strength and help push our money flow higher, which would in turn solidify the 4-hour and the daily. Over on this 1-hour, we are trying to run forward a bit. RSI is pushing up. Stochastic does want to run forward. Momentum's starting to gain strength. VWAP wants to run up, and our money flow, due to that VWAP and momentum pushing forward, does want to run up. But I would just exercise caution because our VWAP does have lower lows. So if we get a rejection of this neutral, we could have slightly lower highs too, and that could start to create a bearish trend. So I would just exercise a little bit of caution and watch very closely in this range. Over on Bitcoin dominance for the daily, we are starting to round away just like we warned, so I would watch for a further drop. If we see further red candles here, we could break that value area high, that red line, on our fixed range volume profile. If we do break that, then we could push down toward our point control, and if we cannot hold our point control, then we could push all the way down to the value area low. Again, if you need more detail, visit the Mastering the Trade series. We have 5-minute videos on each indicator we use and different things we do. Our stochastic is in the bullish territory though, trying to run forward, but it's starting to cross away. We do have a bearish cross, so I would watch. We do have that orange above the blue, so that's what a bearish cross is. Our RSI is pulling back, momentum is rounding away. VWAP wants to round away, so watch if the VWAP gets a lower low. If our VWAP gets a lower low, we could start a new bearish trend if it's followed by a lower high. Over on our 4-hour, we are trying to run forward overall. We did bounce off that blue EMA, sorry. We bounced off the blue EMA, but now we're starting to pull back, trying to break it again. So I would watch very close as our VWAP has lower highs with lower lows. Momentum's pulling back, money flows losing strength, RSI is dropping, and the stochastic is favoring bearish. So overall, dominance doesn't have much strength here on the 4-hour currently. Unless these lower time frames gain some strength, we could end up seeing dominance percentage start to slide. Again, not necessarily a bad thing, because Bitcoin could still go up 2 or 3% tomorrow, and altcoins could go up 5 or 10%. That would cause dominance to slip, as the total market cap is higher than the Bitcoin market cap. So over on the 2-hour, we are pulling back. RSI is weakening, money flow wants to round away, stochastic starting to round, and our VWAP has a lower high, so watch if it rejects and continues to favor bearish like here. If it does, momentum will remain bearish, and that money flow will continue to weaken, which will in turn weaken those higher time frames. Over on the 1-hour, we did break our higher EMAs, or our lower EMAs if you want to be critical of what number they are. They're the lower time frame EMAs, but currently there are higher resistance EMAs. Over on the 1-hour, we are rounding away. We tried to make a bearish engulfing candle, did not make it, but we made a bearish hammer candle and dropped below. Stochastic is rounding away. We do have our orange above that blue, and we are pushing down, but that blue is starting to show some signs of rounding. If the blue can pull forward, we may be able to continue pushing up, and we may get a higher low, which could in turn give us a little bit of bullish traction. Just watch for a rising channel that could end up being a bearish pattern. Again, more on that in mastering the trade. Money flow is pulling back, VWAP is pulling back, momentum is rounding away, and we do have a red dot. So if that VWAP starts to favor bearish with a lower high after getting this consistent low, we will see momentum continue to push down, money flow would weaken, and then those higher time frames would start to weaken as well. Over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we are making a bounce off our 65.5, so this does give us the potential to make the run to 69k, just like we said. So if we can continue our bullish momentum, again, that will be very positive, but I would watch around that 69 to 70k range, because that has been a strong range of resistance. Currently, we do have a higher high trying to form. If we can solidify our higher high with these higher lows, we may be able to create a bullish trend. But again, watch out for a rising channel that we cover in mastering the trade, as that can bring you down. VWAP is in the bullish territory, stochastic's running up, RSI is pushing up, momentum is gaining strength, and the money flow is continuing to remain bullish. But if that VWAP gets a lower low, that could end up flipping, because that money flow is not very strong right now. So the lower time frames still need to gain some significant strength if we're going to get a push forward here. Over on the 4 hour, we are running up. This could be a hammer candle, but since it's a green hammer candle, it could show we retraced a little and the bulls gain strength if followed by a strong green candle. Our side does want to head up, momentum's pushing forward, VWAP does have a higher low, but it's starting to round away, so I would exercise caution. If we make a lower high here, our momentum will continue to weaken, and our money flow will start to pull back, which will in turn weaken the daily, and as futures does lead Bitcoin, it would weaken Bitcoin as well. Over on the 2 hour, we are trying to run up. Again, watch out for a rising channel possibility. A rising channel could end up breaking us lower. So I'm going to draw that out real quick for you. You take your breakout point from the top to your bottom, resistance to support, and then you apply it to wherever your end could be. So we have 1, 2, maybe we stretch out here, hit here, and then pull back somewhere around here. So maybe that could give us a retest of our 65k again after hitting our 69k. If that happens, we could attempt to run forward as long as we hold that 65k. Stochastic wants to pull back, momentum starting to round, VWAP is pulling back, and the money flow does want to weaken, so I would still exercise caution, but just watch if we can hold within this channel. Stochastic's pulling back on the 1 hour, RSI is pulling back, momentum's rounding away, our VWAP has lower lows with this lower high, so if we reject here and get another lower high, we could end up gaining some bearish favor, which would bring momentum lower, and that money flow would start to weaken. That would in turn bring us lower, but again, as long as we bounce off the bottom of this channel, that could be positive for us, at least in the short term. Over on Bitcoin for the daily, we are breaking that resistance and continuing to push forward. Stochastic's running up, RSI is pushing forward, momentum is gaining strength, VWAP is in the bullish territory, and our money flow is continuing to push forward as well. So this is very positive. Now again, exercise caution based on what we covered on futures. Over on this 4 hour, we are trying to bounce off our green EMA. If we can solidify a bounce here, that could be positive. We could continue our bullish traction, but if we break that blue EMA, we could end up retesting our EMA band and potentially dropping lower. Our side does want to pull back, stochastic starting to round away, momentum is starting to push down, and that VWAP has lower highs with consistent lows, so we are in jeopardy of that creating a bearish trend, pushing momentum lower, and in turn weakening our money flow and price action. Over on the 2 hour here, we are continuing to run above that green EMA. That is positive. Momentum does want to round away. Stochastic's overall starting to round as well. We do have lower highs on our stochastic with higher highs on price, so that's creating a bit of a alligator mouth, as you will, that could end up spitting us out. VWAP does want to round away. Money flow wants to pull back, so I would beware. That could have a pretty bad bite on us. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic does want to drop down. RSI is pulling back. VWAP is favoring bearish, and the money flow is starting to drop down. If our VWAP continues to favor bearish here, momentum will continue to weaken, and that money flow will continue to pull back, and in turn that will weaken our higher time frames and give us some sort of a retracement if we're not careful. Over on graph for the daily, we are pushing up to our 31,954. I would exercise caution as we did get rejected, but we got a break away. possibly invalidating the bear flag. I would still watch for confirmation, but if you were watching, we did warn this was a possibility. Stochastic's running up, RSI is continuing to push up, momentum is gaining strength, VWAP has higher highs, but we have consistent lows, so we're a little indecisive. I would watch closely. If our VWAP gets another break of that neutral, we could still see it break down. That money flow is favoring bearish as well, so we do need the lower time frames to continue some bullish momentum in order for us to run forward. So over on the 4-hour, we are starting to hit that resistance, starting to kind of consolidate here. That could be positive as we got run up. So a consolidation after a run up creates a bull flag that can help push you forward. Stochastic does want to round away though. RSI is pulling back, VWAP has lower highs, and our momentum is starting to round. So if VWAP breaks down, our money flow could start to pull back and in turn start to weaken price action and the daily. Over on the 2-hour, Stochastic starting to round away, RSI is pulling back. That VWAP does want to break bearish. We have lower highs. If we break for consistent or lower lows, momentum will continue to pull back, and that money flow could flip back into the bearish territory and weaken those higher time frames. Over on the 1-hour here, we are starting to pull back. We do have bearish divergence on our momentum, and our Stochastic wants to push down. VWAP is starting to favor bearish. So if that VWAP continues to push down here, momentum will continue to weaken, money flow will start to weaken, and price action could end up breaking down. I would watch for a breakdown below possibly the top of this blue band, right around that 3660. If we break that area, then we may have the potential to still continue lower. Over on Anchor for the daily, we are making a bounce off our 42.89, so this could be positive. But again, watch the rest of the market. If it trends down, Anchor could do the same. Stochastic does want to run up, RSI is trying to remain bullish, VWAP is on a bullish trend, pushing that momentum higher and giving that money flow strength. If that continues, our money flow could flip bullish and give price action a run up. Over on the 4-hour, we are running up, but we got rejected by that red EMA again. This has the potential to create a double top. Sorry, wrong thing. So you get a run up, a drop, a run up, and then another drop, and that does create a break. That could end up pushing us lower. You would measure that break from your neckline where your two drops would connect to your head, so here to here, and then you would take that pull from your neckline down, and that would give you a break right around 38.53. Stochastic does have bearish divergence, RSI wants to pull back, momentum is starting to round away with similar divergence, VWAP has lower highs, and the money flow does want to run up, but if that VWAP breaks down, momentum will continue to weaken, and we could end up sliding down from here. Over on the 2-hour, we are trying to consolidate. If we can push off our purple EMA, we can invalidate the double top possibility. However, I would watch if we break all of these EMAs, then we likely will push to the 42.89, at which point if we do not hold, we would have the push lower. Stochastic does want to round away, RSI is pulling back, momentum is rounding away with bearish divergence, our VWAP does want to break down, and the money flow is trying to push forward. But if our VWAP does break down, momentum will continue to round away, and that money flow will end up flipping from a bullish trend into that bearish territory, and that will start to weaken those higher time frames. Over on the 1-hour, we are above our 300 EMA. If we can make it bounce here instead of breaking down over the next couple candles, that could be positive and push us forward. However, if we break this EMA, that could start to push us lower. I would watch these EMAs closely. They are very close. So if we end up breaking this EMA at 44.95, we could push down all the way to 44.08. That's our lowest EMA. If we break that EMA, then we could continue lower. Stochastic is pushing down. Momentum is starting to round away. That VWAP does have a lower low, so if it rejects this neutral and makes a lower high, momentum will continue to weaken, money flow will round away, and that will start to weaken those higher time frames as well. Over on XRP for the daily, we are trying to break our value area low on our fixed range volume profile, but if we reject this, we likely will continue lower. Stochastic does want to round up, RSI is pushing up, VWAP is gaining strength, momentum is pushing up, and the money flow is trying to push through that neutral. So if VWAP remains in a bullish trend, momentum will gain further strength, and that will in turn push that money flow and price action further. Over on the 4-hour, we did hit that red EMA here. We got rejected, so that was around 52,780. if we cannot hold these EMA bands and we end up breaking around our 51664, we could end up trending lower from here. Our stochastic does have bearish divergence. RSI wants to pull back. Momentum is starting to round away. That VWAP does have lower highs, but it also has higher lows, so I would watch that VWAP very close. If the VWAP gets a lower low, followed by another lower high, we likely will end up breaking down pretty significantly considering that's the 4 hour, and that would end up breaking the daily lower as well. Over on the 2 hour here, we are above our 300 EMA. If we can continue to consolidate, we could create a bull flag that could try to push us up toward our 54 resistance. However, we do have bearish divergence. Momentum is rounding. That VWAP is breaking that neutral. Momentum wants to round away, and the money flow is bullish. But if our VWAP starts to favor bearishly, we do have a lower high with lower lows. So if you look back here, we have a high followed by a low. We got rejected. We had a pretty strong low here, and then we tried to run up for a bullish trend, and we are currently rejecting. So if that VWAP makes a consistent low and we do push down, momentum will round away, money flow could break down, and that could end up dropping us below that 300 EMA and possibly breaking the EMA band, pushing us down toward those support areas of the 48 and 38 that we have been mentioning. So over on the 1 hour, stochastic's pulling back, RSI is pulling back, momentum is weakening as that VWAP is trying to favor bearish. So watch if our VWAP rejects again. If it rejects that neutral again, it will pull back, momentum will continue to weaken, and that money flow will start to lose some strength here, which could in turn weaken the higher time frame. Over on algo for the daily, we are trying to push up, stochastic's gaining strength, RSI is pushing forward, momentum is trying to run up, and the VWAP is trying to favor bullish. So if this continues on the lower time frames, that could help run us up. This is mostly because we saw algo break its own record of the most TPS per on any blockchain recorded. So over on the 4 hour, stochastic does want to round, price action starting to reject here. So if we make a bearish engulfing candle, we could end up making a rounding top just like back there, which could make a shoulder, a head, and not really a shoulder. This is way too high to be a shoulder, but I would still exercise caution because it could push us lower. Stochastic does want to round, momentum wants to pull back, VWAP has lower highs, and it does want to break that neutral. Our money flow is bearish, so if that VWAP does break neutral and starts to favor from there, momentum will break down, and that money flow could start to reject away, in turn weakening the daily. Over on our 2 hour, we are starting to round away, stochastic starting to pull back, RSI is starting to round due to our stochastic pulling back. Momentum is rounding with the red dot as that VWAP breaks neutral, and the money flow wants to pull back. So if that VWAP breaks down here, our money flow likely will reject, and that will weaken the 4 hour and the daily. Over on the 1 hour here, we are above that 300 EMA, pulling back, trying to kind of trend above it. This is going to be a pivotal spot. If we break that EMA and hold under it, it's very likely bears will push us lower. However, if we can get bounced off this range, either our black or a gray EMA, then we could try to continue forward and push up to our Fibonacci area of around 1934. Again, just watch for a break of our 1813. Stochastic does want to pull back, momentum wants to round away, RSI is starting to pull back, our VWAP does have lower highs and it's breaking for lower lows, causing the momentum to weaken, and money flow is starting to push down. If that continues, that will give us the strength to break that EMA, that 300 EMA, and then push below our 1813 and end up breaking down toward our 1618. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a great night.